Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Mazia here, and today we're going to be talking about a little topic I wanted to talk about for the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, because I've watched a lot of analysis due to the fact that I don't have my equipment to be able to do a full scan through of the trailer and see if I even wanted to put out an analysis on this trailer, because so little actually happens. However, there is little tidbits and little secrets within the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. However, because I don't have my equipment to be able to show you guys all of this stuff, I figured I would do another video talking about the topic of the light particle build command thing that's in the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. And I say that because the consensus surrounding the new build mechanic for Kingdom Hearts 4 is that it has something to do with the chain and the drill we see Sora utilize within the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. So if we're going to work off of those bases, we come back around to what I said in my initial thoughts of the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, in which I proposed the idea that apparently no one else shares, that this is actually Sora utilizing the power of the X-Blade. And I think that there's a real simple case here when it comes to building the idea up that this is Sora utilizing the power of the X-Blade. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with the rebuttals that I've heard and even the ideas that I've heard people propose within their actual analysis. And this is not to be that guy that's like, oh, I'm right and you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. This is not to be like that, but rather to provide my thoughts on why I feel like that idea, the ideas that's been said, isn't actually what's going on. More so it's just me trying to, I guess you could say, if anything, course correct the consensus on what's going on and what we see, because I can't understand for the life of me why we would have a build mechanic, and then with what we've already seen within Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, hint hint, people wouldn't be able to put two and two together on what's actually going on with Sora. And again, this is me being of the belief that this light particle transformation ability thing is from the power of the X-Blade. It's our next clear sign, and I'm going to cough in a little bit. It's our next clear sign that Sora can utilize the power of the X-Blade, at least in some facet. I'm a little sick. I've tried this a million times. We're just going to have to deal with it at least like every 3 minutes. I'm probably going to cough. So, in other words, let's get right into it. So within the trailer, Sora utilizes a chain that has this anvil looking thing that kind of looks like a heart with a dagger on the end. The ending of it looks like a dagger, and then the heart shapes is at like the kind of top. It looks more so like a 3, I guess you could say, at the top, but we'll say it's a heart shape because altogether it looks like a kind of weirdly shaped heart. But when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 4 and the whole build-up of why I believe Sora is utilizing the power of the X-Blade, and we'll talk about the drill in a bit and the whole build command thing in a little bit too, is that Xehanort also had a chain. Now his chain was physical. Soras Chain is, I guess you could say, metaphysical, in which it's made up of light particles. You can clearly see within the trailer that even if you pay attention, it never has that kind of physical solid form like how Xehanort's had in Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind when you fought him in the data fight. It never has that sort of physical form, whereas Xehanort's, not Sora's, whereas Xehanort's had that physical form to where you actually get to see the links in a kind of substance that looks like it's made out of the not the blade part of the X-Blade, but kind of like these silver hilt. It's like these silver pieces that you can kind of see in a linkage that kind of makes up his, but you do still see the light travel across it. So you kind of get to see the energy travel across it. Well, from my understanding of why this may be happening, and I'll get to the other possibilities as well and why I don't believe that they're what's actually going on. When it comes to Sora's case in Kingdom Hearts 4, as far as we can tell, I think it comes from Sora not actually utilizing the power of the Keyblade yet. What do you mean by Sora not actually utilizing the power of the Keyblade? How is he utilizing the power, but then not utilizing the power? What the fuck you talking about, Mozzie? Well, what I mean is he hasn't gotten so far in his understanding of the fact that one, he even has it, and then two, that he can summon it, is that it's not taken shape in a real legitimate form yet for his chain to look just like Xehanort's. Instead, because Sora desires and wants to utilize a chain when he tries to connect to his Keyblade, instead his chi, which is what we see him legitimately utilize within the trailer, his chi is actually giving off this light particle form. This light particle form is the X-Blade granting his desire in the form of a chi whip, a chi chain that comes out and allows him to grapple and propel himself forward. We also see within the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer that he also pulls out a drill. And when he pulls out this drill, we see a crown that's summoned first, that's surrounded by those same particles of light. And when it's surrounded by these same particles of light, it then gives shape into the drill that he wields, that he sends off into the dark side. But also when the dark side connects with this energy, we see that this energy afflicts the dark side in a way that we've never seen before. Now, I think that this could also be hidden in the fact that we're in a brand new world, so things should technically work differently. But at the very least, we know that we were in unreality when Sora awoke within the final world prior, and we didn't see this stuff then. If we were seeing this stuff then, even though, yeah, I get it, Kingdom Hearts 3, they're not going to add a whole new mechanic to Remind just for one fight. 100% totally understand that. But at the very least, the presentation of his powers could have been different. The presentation of light particles could have been different if this was just simply how light looks within unreality, how light works and functions in unreality, because we are not in a world that's governed by light and darkness like on the side of reality. I can see that being the case. Don't think that I'm not seeing that as a viable possibility. But when we stack on the other instances of Sora seeming to have the power of the X-Blade to these instances as well, and we start to consider that Xehanort kind of had the same stuff, because here we are starting to go into the build part of the new command menu, we saw that Xehanort actually could utilize different individual weapons. He could transform the X-Blade into different individual weapons. In fact, he had a double-sided sword that he could pull out. So that's one. He had chakrams. That's two. He literally had chakrams. Like Axel's chakrams, he had chakrams. Chakrams, he had those laser emitter things. And then he had those big-ass cannons. Those big-ass fucking cannons. And then what else did he have? He had those what did he have? He had those light shuriken things that could encapsulate and embody magic. Like one of them, no, I think they all embodied, if anything, they all embodied ice. And then he could also throw the Keyblade, which would allow Xehanort. I don't know why the idea. I don't know why he threw the X-Blade, bro. Like, it's literally a wand, dog. It's literally a wand. Just summon the fucking spell, bro. But he also threw the X-Blade, and the X-Blade seemed to be capable of holding a set of magic in it to where he could use freeze, fire, and then thunder. So he could have like a set of magic already preset when he launched the X-Blade, and then those magic spells would all come out in rapid succession, and it would be the high end of the fourth tier of magic that would come out as well. So kind of like how when you got to press triangle and you got the Za magic, and you got those super flashy forms of Sora's magic, he could also utilize that stuff as well. So that was Xehanort's abilities. So when you start to think of a mechanic that's being added to the command menu and it says build, and then you see Sora pull out a light particle version of the drill, and that chain, which again, while Xehanort had his stuff in physical form because he actually had the X-Blade. We see Sora utilizing his stuff as metaphysical. It's like as if the X-Blade, because it isn't summoned and it cannot bend to Sora's will physically, it's creating this metaphysical substance. His chi is starting to take shape in ways that he desires. That's what I believe is going on with this build mechanic. And I think that's the whole point of making it a mechanic, because over time we're going to learn more and more and more about where this new ability just randomly come from. Where is Sora being able to get this stuff that he needs? And I think that's going to be something that's going to surprise Sora himself at some point in the story, or at least in Quadratum, because Tetsuya Nomura said we will be here for a while at the beginning. I think Sora will come to understand that for some reason his Keyblade is now allowing him to create stuff as he desires it. And that'll be weird to him because the Keyblade has never done this before. And that's going to be the big thing of how they're going to hide it within the story. Is it because he's in a new world? Is it because he's in unreality? Is it because he's in Quadratum but he comes from reality? Or is it that because he's carrying around something that he doesn't even know of? Well, if my theories and my understanding of the story so far is at least even somewhat on base with where the story is actually going, this trailer ends with us seeing the Master of Masters in Lushu, and we know that from my assumption, the Master of Masters is trying to get the legendary weapon from Sora. And if he's trying to get the legendary weapon from Sora, that means that Xehanort and how he gives the X-Blade to Sora was always part of the Master of Masters' plans to meet Sora in unreality, to be able to retrieve the X-Blade from Sora within this world. To retrieve the X-Blade from Sora while he cannot utilize the power of Kingdom Hearts via the X-Blade. So, with all of this being said, now we come around to not the necessarily rebuttals, but the other things that I've heard about what this power is. Because I don't think that people's, and I hate doing this shit, bro. I don't think that people's assumptions are on base with where the story is going. People believe that this is kind of like what happened with Ericus. Sora's a Keyblade Master, so maybe he just got the chains. But I don't think people understand that those chains are actually an ability of the royal family. Now, with Sora being a main character, he could be trespassing into the royal family's secret abilities. Like, oh my god, he knows how to create weapons from light particles. Whoa. And that'll be a big old thing when if Sora ever meets the Skylight Kylam people in the royal family. That'll be a big old thing when it comes up. But, and here's the big but, there's also a possibility, because it is hinted at, or at least in some degree it is implied, that in some way, form, or fashion, Ephemera did somehow get a hold of at least some portion of the X-Blade's power. And I think that's where the royal family found out how to be able to utilize stuff like Ericus's chains. That's why it looks similar to that's the actual truth as to why it looks similar to to Ericus's chains. I think I said that right. That's why Sora's chain looks similar to Ericus's chain, because the royal family kind of just got this ability from Ephemera's brief time, with at least some encounter of some form of the X-Blade's power when he recreated the world, when he created Skylight Kylam, when he founded Skylight Kylam and saved the world from darkness, because he has to 100% be that individual that started the saving of the world utilizing the hearts of children. Because we see those lights of the past appear. And potentially, the lights of the past is how he finds out how you can shape energy or chi in the form of chains, and they pass that on within the royal family. But I do believe that does come from the X-Blade, because what do we know? The power, the Keyblade, the main power of the series is a derivative of the X-Blade. So why wouldn't it would only make sense for Sora to have been gifted the X-Blade, and then he's utilizing this power, but he's utilizing it in its true form. Because when people brought this up in their analysis, I kind of was just like, because Sora was gifted the X Blade. We never see it like fully disappear, so we don't know if it dismantled and went away and all of that. But why would the Master of Masters put Xehanort and go through all of that shit with Xehanort if the X Blade is just gonna disappear? That doesn't make sense. He's not meant to open Kingdom Hearts, but you know, he revives the foretellers, and then he has a whole X Blade that he gives to Sora, and Sora's gonna be the one to open the door to light. Like it don't make sense for Sora to have gotten the X Blade just for it to disappear. So now we gotta find out how the fuck do we get a whole nother X Blade to bring us to the end of the story if the Master of Masters versus Sora is going to be the ending. That doesn't make fucking sense. Why not just have Xehanort's X Blade be Sora's X Blade, and then the 13, which the Master of Masters is going to utilize Sora to destroy them to get his own X Blade back? That's what it seems like is going to happen, because the Master of Masters said the one who can destroy the darkness will come in the future. Sora's the main character, is going to be him. It's not going to be anybody else. It's going to be him. So my thing, though, when it comes to those chains that Ericus has, is that Ericus's chains are a lot more wild, for one. It's not this controlled form of chains. Like, we've never seen a character even connected to Ericus utilize one chain and be like, I got you, nigga. Now, while the chains can presumably serve multiple purposes, as Aqua used them to capture, Ericus was going to use them to destroy, and then Terra Xehanort used them to terrorize, I guess? To terrorize... And then Terra Ericus used them to bind Terra Xehanort. But in each of those instances, I feel like what a lot of people don't understand is that there's at least implied to be some hint of Ericus with each individual moment that those chains are actually utilized within the story thus far. Aqua in the dark world. She's using Master Ericus's Keyblade, the Master Defender. We're starting to learn, or at least we're starting to get it implied within the story, that Keyblades carry a piece of the individuals that wield them, at least for extended periods of time. Pieces of those individuals carry over into their Keyblades. So, I mean, that's a very easy one. Terra Xehanort utilizing those black chains in Kingdom Hearts 3. Well, he's already subjugating Terra. Ericus's heart is traveling around with Terra's. In fact, it seems like they're melded together, as Ericus can take over Terra's body. He can take over Terra's body. In fact, leading up from when Sora leaves them to when he comes out, it's implied, or it at least seems, that for a while Ericus has taken over Terra's body. Like when they see Kingdom Hearts and it's starting to spread darkness, and he's like, let's move, the darkness is spreading. That's that Ericus manipulation voice, or at least that's the tone he speaks when we know for certain he's being manipulated by Ericus at the ending. So it seems like that's Ericus telling them that they need to move because the darkness is spreading. And then when it comes to what else? When else was they used? In the Dark World, when Terra used them against Terra Xehanort, it's the same thing. It's Ericus's heart trying to bind Terra Xehanort to help Terra, because he was in distress from Terra Xehanort trying to crush him, trying to crush his face. What else? We have. There's another moment. Oh yeah, when Ericus himself uses them. Well, that's specifically Ericus. So I mean. But each individual moment that we've seen them within the series, there's at least some hint of Ericus. There's no hint of Ericus here, and there's no one to show Sora that he can utilize this power unless, of course, the royal family is in Skylight Asylum. That's the only way. That's the only way. If people from the royal family are in Skylight Asylum, so Brain is Yuzora, of course you got Strelitzia, but I don't think Strelitzia was that powerful of a Keyblade wielder, and I think that was the whole point of the Master of Masters giving her the X-Blade. So, I mean, the X-Blade, the Book of Prophecies. So, there's my thoughts on why I believe this is the power of the X-Blade. We know that Xehanort could create different weapons with the power of the X-Blade in his data fight. So, with a build mechanic being added to the command menu for Sora within Kingdom Hearts 4, we can only assume that this is going to be Sora slowly starting to understand that he has this exact same power to now be able to create from light, from chi, which the X-Blade, if you look at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, the original ending after Sora defeats Xehanort in a closed Kingdom Hearts, we see the X-Blade extract chi from each individual standing there with Sora before he shoots the beam off to close the door, and then we never find out what happens to the X-Blade. So, is it possible that this high level of usage of the X-Blade made the X-Blade join to Sora, like as if it joined his being, and now when he utilizes the power of his Keyblade, it now follows his commands, his needs, his desires, creating things like a chain for him to propel himself up to this giant, massive fucking dark side that we see, that it creates a drill when he's about to be attacked and he tries to defend himself, and now a drill pops out and it's like, fighting, pushing back the dark side's arm, and it fucking gets pushed back, and Sora attacks it even more by sending the drill off towards it. I think that's more than likely going to be what's going on here. This will not be a case of Sora having new abilities because he's a master. I don't believe that that's the case, because other characters, put it like this, let's keep it short. Riku became a master and he never started using chains. I mean, chains would have been the perfect... Mickey don't use chains, and chains would have been the perfect thing to fucking use when you got a fucking super fast, already Keyblade master of a high scale, Master Aqua, who's also now utilizing a high amount of darkness as well, so much so that her heart is corrupted, and she's fucking running around fucking destroying you and Riku. I think chains would have been good to use at a time like that. But thank you guys for tuning in to this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope it gave you a little bit more insight when you look into what's actually going on with the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer. Again, this is not me trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm 100% right. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just more so like, I think the consensus that this is something like what Ericus doesn't make sense, because we haven't had the Mark of Mastery have other characters pull out this ability. I don't think this has something to do with mastery, but rather this is an ability that may be marked to specifically the royal family, and how they may be marked by it may come from Ericus's brief stint with some form, some extent of the X-Blade's power in his very own time. So his whole family is marked by the X-Blade. So let me know what you guys thinking. This has been your boy Mozzie. Don't forget to do a little A-class gaming, and everything you do, don't forget to keep it A-class. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and peace the heck out.